Hello everyone, it's Arium aka Yuno aka the Firefish Guy, and today we have the complete TriZooDPE guide for newcomers and mainly newcomers. But before we continue, make sure to leave a like and join the Discord server. Also, only 11% of you are subscribed to the channel, so make sure to destroy that subscribe button like you will destroy Tiger King. So, this is my list. It's kind of expensive. I built less expensive build for you guys, but first I'm gonna go over the core. So we have 2 Trebigate Fractals who can be discarded to send another Trebigate to the graveyard. Then we have Triple Kit who, when he's sent to the graveyard, he sends another Trebigate. Nerval can search a Trebigate when he's sent to the graveyard, and Keras can special summon himself by discarding another Beast Warrior or the Winged Beast Monster. All of them can banish tri-types from your graveyard to special summon from the extra deck tri-type Link Monster with Link rating equal to the number of monsters you banished for the effect. You can summon the Tri-Brigades, Rise Velgra, and double Dragon Lords with the effect. We have Tri-Brigade Revolt, who basically is a trap that lets you summon how many Tri-Brigades you want, and then link summon a Tri-Brigade monster into it. Well, you can summon any Tri-type monster with it, and you can then link summon with it. You must link summon with it. Generally, you wanna link summon from Devil into Shureg, who, when he's special summoned or when another Tri-type is special summoned, he gets you a non-targeting banish to a card your opponent controls, or a card in general actually. And how do we search the one Revolt, which is our win condition? We search it with Berbram, who, when she's sent to the graveyard, she searches a Tri-Brigade Spell or Trap, and then shuffles back a card into our hand. She also has also gotta mention that if you do use that effect, you are locked out of special summons for the rest of the turn except other Tri-Brigade monsters, which is very relevant. She also has another effect which is not used very often. You can discard 2 cards to special summon one of your banished Tri-type monsters. It comes up in OTKs, but besides that, it doesn't. You don't want to use it turn 1 pretty much ever unless your hand is like entirely monsters, entirely Tri-types. We have Ferrigit, who is basically you can use her to special summon a Tri-type from your hand, and when she is sent to the graveyard, she lets you draw a card and then shuffle back a card into the deck. For the Zodiacs, we have 1 Ram and 1 Kataroost. Ram is the best one to search of Fire Formation Tanky, which lets you search either Fractal or Ram or Kataroost. Because Ram gives your Zodiac monsters trap protection from mainly Infinite Impermanence. Meanwhile, Kataroost is good versus Sword Soul, which is the best deck of the format at the moment, because it gets over their level 8 Synchro Chixiao. For our extra deck Zodiacs, we have 1 Trident, who is a play targeting of a face-up card, and which very relevantly is the only way to detach freely Zodiac from your graveyard, which you need to special summon it with Chakain. That's a hair effect. And Borbo lets you attack directly, which lets you summon Zeus, which is a board wipe that you can use multiple times per chain if you have 4 materials. Next we have our other staple Tri-Brigade extra deck cards. We have Almirage, which you can link, which you can use if you normal summon Kit or Nerval, and to summon Almira, and need to trigger their effects, you can link summon Almirage. We have Ancient Warriors Double Dragon Lords, which is kind of like a mini Shureg. You can end on it if you need, if you get max seed, you can end on it as an extra part of your red board, or versus Numeron if you scout them. You can use it to auto window. You can just use it if you need remove but don't have 4 tri-types to banish for Shureg. You can summon Double Dragon Lords instead. It's fine. He just comes up. Next we have the 3-way tie for the 16 cards to cut. We have Tri-Brigade Rugal, which is basically lets you quick play during your opponent's turn, special summon a Tri-Brigade from your graveyard, Tri-Type from your graveyard, and if it doesn't die, it goes back into your hand. It's relevant because if they destroy Revolt before they give you anything to banish, you can activate Revolt to get Nervous Surge, because the triggers of Revolt. And you summon the Shureg, and then you use the Rugal later to special summon something that triggers Shureg. And in general, having a link tree to climb into and to special summon is very useful. Then next we have Doom Eagle, or as I like to call him for the first name, Kreisvelger, because it's funnier. You cannot really hard summon it, but you can special summon it with Tri-Brigade effect, which he lets you shuffle back a monster in your opponent's graveyard, mainly for DPE and Sky Striker Race Array, which is really bothersome for this deck. And lets you link him into Access Code Talker, which is your OTK enabler. You summon him using a link tree, and he becomes 5300 attack, and he lets you pop a lot of cards from your opponent's field. And finally we have Palooza, which together with Kreisvelger and Rugal is one of the cards you could look at. Palooza, you can end on it, and it gives you 2 or 3 negates on monster effects, but it doesn't destroy. Next we have DPE engine. We have Verte Anaconda, which is a generic link 2 that you can special summon and use its effect to send your fusion spell to use it. The fusion spell, Fusion Destiny, lets you send your materials from the deck to special summon Destiny Hero, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Fusion Destiny, once you use it, you are locked out to special summons for the rest of the turn, same with Verte. And Destroyer Phoenix Enforcers is really strong. He gives your opponent's monsters minus 400 attack, as long as you have the Destiny Heroes in grave, which is okay, but basically you can once per turn destroy 1 card on your field and 1 card in any player's field, and then you can activate his effect if he's destroyed. That lets him special summon a Destiny Hero from your graveyard during the next standby phase. And how this deck kind of works is you summon Berbram, you summon Verte, summon DP, and then with DP you pop the Verte and the Berbram to get Berbram Search. Alternatively, you can link off the Berbram into a Palooza and get the Revolt Search. The Destiny Heroes are actually quite good, not to draw, but once you get them to the graveyard. Dasher, if you draw a monster, you can use its effect to special summon it, only once per duel. And Celestial, you can, during the next turn, if you have 0 cards in your hand, you can banish it and Dasher to draw 2 cards. Finally, everything else is text besides Foolish Burial, who is more or less a worse 6 copy of Fractal. basically. You send Kit, send Nerval, add whatever. Everything else is text. We have staples. We have Ash Blossom, Maxi, Effect Valor, Infinity Permanence, Called by the Grave, Cross-Up Designator, nibiru. You can run Forbidden Droplets. This card. You can run Imperial Order, although I don't think it's very good, but I am the guy that always argues against it, so it's kind of a meme. At this point, there's also Rescue Cat, which is not very good, honestly, but something you could run. And you could run RP Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. I am pretty confident in my build. I could see myself cutting the third Nibiru, maybe the Foolish Burial and maybe the Effect Veiler, but I don't really know what for, besides a second kataroost maybe. But we're gonna get into the budget version. I'm gonna just show you for a little bit. We have some other cards here. We have Zodiac Thorblade and Zodiac Tiger Mortar. Until you get DPE, you can run DPE less with these kinds of ratios. I'm not gonna show you the Thorblade combos, but you can get some slightly better combos with it if you draw it with another Zodiac, since you are playing Tiger Mortar. Tiger Mortar lets you attach Zodiac from your graveyard as material, attaching another material. In this build we are gonna use 3 copies of Desires because we don't play the DPE engine, so we can play Desires, which is a draw 2. We are playing triple copies of Revolt. You don't need 3, you can play 2, but I'm just using it as filler, and it's kinda like budget Cross-Up Designator. We are playing Forbidden Chalice as like a budget generic card, and Twin Twister as a budget generic spell and trap removal. There's also Raigeki, which you get for free, and Lightning Storm and Solemn Judgment, which you get from the bundle packs if you buy them. Besides that, well, obviously Impermanence you want, and you get the 1 Ash from the selection pack, from the bundle, but you absolutely want your triple Ash Blossom, triple Maxi, and double Called by the Grave as soon as possible. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you a bit the crafting guide. So first off, you want to start pulling for Shureg. You can pull for one and craft the second, you can pull for both, it's kinda your choice. After that, the next most important thing is pulling for Trident, which also comes in the same pack as Crystal Alki Fibrax, which definitely want to keep if you get it, and also you can get Metal-Foes Electromite, which is really good if you are a Pendulum best deck enjoyer. And also forgot to mention on the Shureg pack you also get the Dogmatica stuff, so you can get Dear Servant and Fleur de Lis if you want to play Invoke Dogmatica Shadow or some other sorts of deck. Next we have double Dragon Lords, which you can find in the same pack as you can find Fairy Tail Snow and Fairy Tail Luna. Unfortunately, it's a 5 ultra rare 6 pack, so you can pull it, you can craft it, but after that you want to definitely craft Access Code and Almirage, who are in pretty bad packs, and Appaloosa and Zeus, which are in no packs at all. If you play Appaloosa, if you want to play it. I definitely like it a lot, but if you want to cut for Rugal, that's totally understandable. Where was I? Next, we have Verte and History of Phoenix Enforcer. If you're watching the video on release, his pack is still up, so you can pull for it. It's a really solid pack, but for Zodiac Tri-Brigades, you're only pulling for the DPE. And Verte you can pull for afterwards while you are getting to Platinum 5, or you can craft it once you get there. And then everything else, well, you want to absolutely craft the 2 Ash Blossoms, the 3 Maxis, the 2 Cult Ballet Graves, then the 2 remaining Infinite Impermanences. And then everything else is kinda tech and meta dependent. At the moment, at least Double Veiler is really good. You could cut the third one because Virtual World, it's really bad against Virtual World. But it doesn't seem like it's seeing a lot of play, thankfully, because that deck is cancer. There's also Nibiru, which you can pull from the Worm pack. So you can leave that for later instead of crafting it just looking for it. And we have a Cross-Out Designator, which is also good. You don't need 3 Nibiru, you can play second kataroost again. We are gonna move on to the tips and tricks and then the combo section. You can only link summon monsters from the extra deck in the extra deck monster zone or to a zone a link monster points to, meaning you shouldn't clog those zones with other monsters. Summon your main deck Tri-Brigades in zones 1, 2 and 4, assuming you're going first and you're using the right extra deck zone for all your links besides Almirage. This is because most of your links point either to zone 3 or zone 5. If you use Bear Brum's search effect, you cannot special summon anything else but the Tri-Brigades for the rest of the turn. So either use it while linking it off into Apo, or pop it with DPE. It's not mandatory either. I know you can click yes, but there's also the seldom clicked no button, so sometimes use it. You usually OTK by summoning a link tree and making access code with it, who is 5.3k. And then with either Shureg, who is 3k, DP plus Verte, who are 3k together, or with Fractal plus Berbram or Ferigit, who are over 3k together. If you are using Revolt and you are wondering why you cannot summon your Link monsters from the graveyard or banish pile, it's because you cannot summon from the grave or banish pile Link monsters you special summon with Tri-Brigade effect, as they have been cheated out of the extra deck instead of being properly summoned, and thus cannot be revived. This is one of those weird rulings that new people don't know about. If you try to special summon out a monster from the extra deck or a monster that must be first special summoned by some means that's written on the card, like Chaos Sorcerer, in the improper way, you cannot then revive them from the graveyard or punish pile. The only time you should ever use Berbram's discard 2 effect is turn 1 if your entire hand is Tri-types and you have 0 hand traps. And after turn 1, if you are 100% absolutely sure that you will OTK, you have already done the maths, you've got past all the negates, you are 100% sure you will OTK if you use Berbram's effect. The trick you should search off the nerve value summon of the Revolt is Hit, because this allows you to get a search with it into Nerval next turn. Similar to Berbram, once you use Verte's effect or Fusion Destiny's effect, you cannot special summon anything else for the rest of the turn, so you should use those effects as the last thing you do. Avoid popping your DP turn 1, pop Verte instead when possible. This avoids the opponent cold buying or crowing the DP before you even get to pop 1. If you hard draw Fusion Destiny, you won't have the Verte, so to pop the Berbram you will need to pop the DP instead, or the Tri-Brigade you used. If you get Max Seed, you should either end on Kit and Double Dragon Lords, or Trident. If you open Fusion Destiny, you could end on Revolt DP instead, since you get 2 interrupts for 2 draws. You should avoid filling your grave up too quickly, for example by using Kit's effect on Revolt when unnecessary, or by using 2 Kit's turn 1. For example, if you have only Fractal and Vortex, go into Nerval first and search Kit second, so you can end on Kit PDL if your opponent maxes you. Maybe get a float if it gets run over after it gets imp, and then you end on nothing, and if everything goes well, send Keras as your port name for Revolt. Your turn 2 Zeus and your turn 1 DPE should be summoned in defense position, at least on ladder, to avoid Lightning Storm. If possible, you should keep 1 or even better 2 banished tri-types after revolting, so your Shurek floats. You can help remember this a bit more easily by not banishing Nerval. If possible, you should use your Link monsters as materials to useless monsters for Revolt, so you don't get Nibiru, since it counts summon monsters and not special summons, like Maxi does. When searching Zodiac turn 1, you should always search Ramram, because if they didn't have a chainable before but have a chainable now, it's Imper or Veiler, so if you cannot special summon Keras, you can end on to Mat Trident and have at least 1 negate, since they can Pelennor on your turn to blanket, and Ramram negates Imperm. If you are sure Shureg's getting a level 1 float, like from Nibiru or DP, and you don't play or need Crow, you can search Keras instead of Kit off of Nerval, so Shureg can add Nerval and you can have the same play as you would with Kit and Keras in hand. When revolting, if you fear Ash, you should go Chainlink 1 Nerval and Chainlink 2 Shureg. If you fear a chainable negate, then Chainlink 1 Shureg and Chainlink 2 Nerval. And if you fear both, use Kit as Chainlink 3. If you have it, Ferrigit should be either put in Chainlink 3 to Chainblock, or Chainlink 1 if you actually want to get a draw with Kit already in hand. When linking off together Berbram and Ferrigit, always go Chainlink 1 Ferrigit, Chainlink 2 Berbram to avoid drawing the Revolt. If your opener is Foolish Burial alone and don't end on Rugal Revolt, you won't have 4 tri-types to summon, so end on DP instead. If you run Apo and your opponent's deck is over 40 cards, make Apo over DP, because it's likely to be Sword Soul, and Sword Soul does not like Apo at all. Or maybe it's a combo deck which also doesn't like Apo. When going for a Zoo start, if your hand is good enough where you don't need a mulligan, use Borbal to get to 5 summons before getting to Ferrigit, so you can save it for later if they need you. Meanwhile, if you need the mulligan, make Ferrigit on 5th summon instead. This obviously doesn't apply if you open more than 1 Zoo, and your opponent might not use Nibiru, but at least you know about it. If you gotta choose what deck to shuffle back, Crossout is the first thing to shuffle back. Then Imperm is a good target if you end on Apo, and Called by the Grey is also a good target, because you don't wanna get blown out by back row removal. If you end on Apo, Nibiru and Veiler are good cards to shuffle back. If you tanky, they have a chainable and don't activate it, go for Ramram always. Because if it's Ash, you go for Zoo combo into Ferrigit, or Verte if you have no trees, and blank Ash. If it's Maxi, you end on Trident, and if they have a chainable but don't max your normal summon, end on 2 Mat Trident, because they also either have Imperm or Veiler, so that checks that. You could also try going for Ferrigit in the second case if you suspect they might be playing Numeron or Thunder Dragon, but it's generally a bit risky unless you went blind second. If you really want to save all of your decks in hand, you can go for Shureg turn 1 on a tanky plus trade opener. I'm only showing the Keras combo because that's the one where it's important to go into Shureg if you start with Zeus instead of searching Fractal, but you can do similar combos with the other tribes. We're finally at the combo section of the video, and I am not gonna show you every single branch or every single minute variation of each combo because there are a lot of them. The deck is mechanically very easy to play, but there is always a lot of micro choices on what you can do with the deck. Keep in mind that in these combos I am showing you a hand of generally a minimum amount of tri-brigades needed for the combo, and then the rest is all text. But usually if you draw one more tri-type, then you want to shuffle them back into the deck instead of trying to extend the combo even further.